Sorry, I just realized this is really wonky. Okay, so I apologize because I went live and then deleted it, even though I scheduled it because I thought I hit the wrong button. So if you found me from that, I apologize in advance. If you're brand new to me, welcome. Let me know if you are where you are watching from, and put a 1 in the comments if this is our first time meeting. Put a 2 in the comments if you are a repeat viewer or a subscriber. So today we're talking about how to work less and make more. Now, I know that's like the thing that most people want, and yet there are lots and lots of different pathways to get there, which means that it can sometimes be a little bit disheartening when you try a path and it's not working for you, and then you think that there's something wrong with you. Well, I want you to know that there is nothing wrong with you. It just may be that you're thinking about the quality of the work or the type of work that you're doing in the wrong way. Okay, so I just want you to think about work differently as a result of our conversation and the time that we're having here together. If you're brand new to me, my name is Susan McVeigh, and I'm a married mama of 2, a business, sales, and wealth strategist. And here on this channel, we talk about all things business and entrepreneurship, which includes money and sales with faith and family thrown in the mix. So most of us, and let me know if this applies to you, because it may not, and if it doesn't, then this probably isn't the best video for you, but let me know if you have ever heard that you have to work hard for your money. Just me? So that's number 1. Let me know if you have had experience where the harder you work, it doesn't equate to the more money that you're making. And if you know somebody who is a very hard worker, but has not earned or does not have as much as their work and effort would connect to, would correlate to. So if hard work was all it took to have more money, then surely we would see more people who are working sometimes to the bone, having as much money as they possibly want. So automatically we know that working hard is one piece. Like, we have to work, but you don't have to toil. You don't have to oh, this is so hard. That is not what is required in order for you to make more. I want you to think about the people who make the most money in the world. And while you may have beliefs about how they got the money or the type of people that they are, that's not the point of today's video and conversation. What I want you to just think about is, how hard do some of the people who are billionaires in the world, how hard are they actually working? So while they have to work, it's a different type of work. And that's what we're going to walk through today. Okay. So number 1, when you are looking to make more money and work less, or work fewer hours, or just not have to work as hard, then I want you to consider that there's 3 tiers that we all move through as we're making more. Okay, now some people are going to stay in the bottom tiers, which is okay, but just recognize that there is an opportunity for you to actually work your way through these systems and to think about making money in a different way. This applies regardless of whether or not you are currently a business owner or you are working inside of somebody else's business, aka corporate. Most of my content is going to be geared toward the business owner. And so that's what I want you to think about, is inside of your own business. Those are probably the examples that I'm going to be sharing. So the first part is, most of us, when we start, we have to do the hard work, right? I want you to think about some of the things that are out there right now, that if you don't have what I'm about to share, that chances are you're going to be delegated to the grunt work, the stuff that nobody else wants to do, the hard stuff, right? So typically these are menial tasks. They don't require a lot of skill. They don't require a lot of experience. They don't require a lot of knowledge. They don't require a lot of education. And as a result, you don't get paid very much. So I want you to think about the lowest paying jobs in the world are typically the things that are hard. They're hard to do. Okay? So When we start to shift into this idea that it doesn't require hard work, it does require work, but a different kind of work in order for us to make more money, then we enter into this first doorway, which is knowledge-based. Knowledge-based, okay? So knowledge-based versus input-based. Now, in the inputs, most of the time when we are working hard, it is hard work. That's the input. When we start to shift to make more money, but working less, it typically means that we're using this instead of just brute force with our hands, okay? So I want you to consider then the lowest paying jobs out there, right? And I'm using some broad strokes here, so you're gonna have to just bear with me because I recognize that it's not always equal tit for tat. It's not always, the things where people are working hard that are getting paid the corresponding amount, vice versa, right? The most valiant or the most valuable jobs or businesses out there aren't the ones that are making the most necessarily. So when you move from input-based, so for the purposes of our conversation today, the input is your effort, your energy, how much work that you're putting in, right? That hard work is now being traded for what you know, your knowledge. And so this is why oftentimes we start thinking, well, if I want to get a better paying job, if I want to make more, then you do what? You go to school, right? Most of us have heard that when we were kids. If you want to make more, if you want to get a good paying job, then you need to go to school. You need to learn more. You need to keep going and having more and more and more education. Now, you can get education in lots of different ways, right? You can go and get hands-on experience. You can get different ways to be able to gain that knowledge. You could do it through YouTube University, right? As the case may be. The knowledge-based worker is going to make more money, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, time for time. And that opens the doorway for number 2. So the first level is you go from working hard, just like lots and lots and lots of effort, to now I get paid for what I know. I get paid to figure things out. I get paid to manage the people who are the ones doing the brute force work, okay? Because theoretically, not always, but theoretically, when you are promoted to become a leader or a manager, it's because you have higher knowledge, more skill, better ability than the person that you're managing, the entry-level person. So when you upgrade your knowledge, your skills, your abilities, then you feasibly, again, I'm using some broad strokes, but as a business owner, you would end up delegating to a team member that would then do the more administrative, the grunt work, the tasks that ultimately you don't get paid to do, right? They're the lowest value things inside of your business. They're the things that might take the most effort, the most energy, that take the hardest work, but that's not going to get you to make more and more and more. Your ability to strategize, to vision, to think thoroughly about the questions that you're being presented with, to help your clients and to look at innovative ways and solutions to create, to get more clients or to help your clients better, are the things that are going to enable you to make more money. So that's knowledge. Number 2 then becomes outcome-based versus time-based, okay? So oftentimes when you are an employee, you're getting paid for your time. Yes or yes, right? Like most of us, when we are an employee, you have to clock in and clock out. You can't just up and leave at noon simply because you're done your work for the day, right? Most workplaces would raise some eyebrows and would question where you're going. What are you doing? So we are trained when we work in companies, in corporate, as employees, that your value, your money what you earn is directly connected to how much time that it takes. So is it no wonder that with that programming, it becomes very difficult that when you are now inside of your business, thinking about how to make more money, that automatically, sorry, I don't know, it just happened. That was so weird. I'm on Do Not Disturb, but this is real. So I apologize. Let me just see. Yeah, I am on Do Not Disturb, so I don't know what just happened. It blacked out. So we're back. So I was sharing that we are pre-programmed, we're trained through our environment, through social norms, through cultural acceptable practices, that especially when you have a job and a job for a long time, so I worked in corporate for like 20 years, that a lot of our environments shape and influence what our beliefs are. And oftentimes when we fight with this, which is that you can make more money with using less time, that time is automatically going to come up as like the, how is that possible? Because we're often trained to believe that your time equals money. We even say it, time equals money. But does it really? And so when we think about this, that the fact of the matter is, if you're really smart at what you do, because we already talked about door number one, which is that it's knowledge-based versus input-based, which means that your work, your effort, your energy is not necessarily the thing that is going to produce more and more money as you continue to grow and scale. It's your knowledge, it's your skills, it's your expertise, it's your experience, it's your ability to solve problems and to be innovative. So if that's the case, then why are we being kind of marked for the amount of time that we spend producing, doing, being at work? That more time on the job suddenly equates to you deserve to get a raise. Has anybody experienced that? Where all of a sudden, you know, your output, your results, and your outcomes that you produce at your job are far better than, you know, Joe or Jill who's sitting next to you. And yet, because they've put in more time, and they will tell you they put in more time on the job, that they suddenly are getting the raise. In your business, that's not necessarily the case, right? In your business, the better the outcome, the better the result, the higher the price points that you can command. Now, I'm not talking about price gouging. I'm talking about the fact that you're a quality human who produces quality work, and the more that you're able to produce a better output that produces the results that your customers want, the more that you can command premium prices. It has nothing to do with how long it takes for you to get the result. So the number one thing that when I work with clients who come to me for the first time and they are completely burnt out, they're exhausted, and they do high quality, high caliber of work, is to look at how are you charging? Are your results dependent on your time? And if that's the case, how can we remove that connection as quickly as possible? So here's an example. I had a client who came to me and she was starting an agency. And in her agency, a lot of the things that they were working on required her to physically do the task, to physically do the work, right? And as a result, there was an industry standard in the type of agency that she was building where people would charge hourly. Now, they had different hourly rates depending on the level of specialization for the type of work that they were doing, but they were charging hourly nonetheless. And that meant that in order for her to make more, charge more, in order for her to have more, she needed to work more because it was directly connected. How much she made, she was charging by the hour, was directly connected to how much time that she spent. So this meant that as she got better, as she got faster, as the outcomes improved, that she was actually penalized, right, by her own pricing model. And so instead of creating a life of freedom, she just created another job. And it meant that she was burnt out and exhausted. And so the very first thing that we did was we evaluated how much quality is the output? Like, is her work of a high quality? And she said, yes. How do you know? Because clients keep coming back. Okay, great. And her clients kept raving about her services, so her referrals were going up. So because of certain markers that we could see, a couple of which I just shared with you here, we knew that her and her work was high quality, right? And so switching from a pricing model that penalized her, that as she got better, as she gained more experience, as she got faster at what she was doing, that it did not diminish the output. In fact, her output kept going up and up and up and up, meaning the quality of her work kept improving. But instead of her being paid more as a result, she was being paid less. So then she was forced to work more in order to make the same amount simply because she was getting faster. That is bonkers. So we implemented packages. Now, if you're a business owner, that is the very first thing that you can implement inside of your business in order to make more money while working fewer hours, especially if you have a high level of experience or expertise and the quality of the work that you produce is very high. So when you do this, it means that people are going to look at, what do I get? What's in it for me? Truthfully, most people don't really care how long it takes you to do the thing, unless it's going to impact their life in some way. In fact, most of the time, the less time that you take, the better. So the faster you can do something, oftentimes you can charge a premium. That's why when you go to a service provider and you're asking for a rush on a project, a rush on the service, a rush on how quickly you get the flyers, the whatever it is, the appointment that you need to book, you often will be charged a rush fee on top of your regular fee. Okay, there's a premium attached to that because it's a higher value. So when you then are focused on the output, the result, the transformation, the end of what it is that you produce versus how long it takes, then you can effectively produce the same output, but as you get better and better and better, you're going to spend less time. And that means that your money and the amount that you make is no longer directly connected to how much time it takes for you to produce the thing that you make. Okay? So the third component of this is, once you have started to shift away from input-based, which is hard work, hard effort, right? The amount of effort and energy that you're putting into a thing, and switching into knowledge-based, which is more thinking, strategizing, and using your mind as a way to come up with innovative solutions, ideas, and being paid for your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience, your expertise, and what it is that you know to be able to apply towards the things that you're facing. Then we shift into number 2, which is away from time. It's not more time that you need in order to make more money. It's the ability to produce a better result. The outcomes that your clients want, the outcomes that people pay for. Even if you're in a job, the results that you're able to put on the job, that if you think about how can I get better results in the job that I have such that I can get a promotion, I can get a raise, I can get a different job that will pay me more. These are all components of the things that I'm expressing here, right? The last piece of this then becomes, especially as a business owner, once you have the appropriate knowledge, not hard work and effort, although you do need to work, right? And then you have the focus on the result, which I already gave you, start moving away from hourly based work to packages, to outcome based results type of work, to then systems based. So this is where, especially if you're deep in the trenches of your business, that you start to move away from doing all the things to now being able to work on and in your business in an appropriate way as the CEO, as the founder, as a visionary, as the one that comes up with the ideas, and you start to systematize. And that means that things that are routine, things that are, consistently being done, whether it's by you or somebody else, there is a system that you process, the system that you follow, a process that takes them through from step 1 to step 10. What this does is it streamlines your operations. And for most businesses, the biggest expense that you will ever have is not marketing. It's your operations. It's how you run your business. And if you have other people inside of your business, it's going to be the human capital, the human resources, but then it's going to be the tech and the systems that support those humans. How do you communicate? How do you send out information? How do you keep track of stuff? How do you deliver the service or the product, right? So in order for us to then use and leverage the systems, you have to know how to do that. And that's why we started with level 1, level 2, level 3, okay? So the systems then allow you to automate and delegate the different functions in your business in such a way that you stay at the highest levels of what it is that you get to do and get to operate from. And it frees up your time. Now, here's what ends up happening. You're so used to spending that time that you're going to find ways to fill up your hours with busy work. So it's very important before you even start on this that you identify, why do I want to have more time? What am I going to do with the time that I gain? Because I will tell you time and time again that because of the messages, because of our basic pre-programming in our systems, that the more you work, the more you make. And I'm asking you to flip that. The less I work, the more I make. Because the less that you have to work and toil and put in the effort, it's not hard, but it's a different way of thinking about how you produce the outcomes. It's a different way of being with the expertise that you have. And it is truly going to give you more freedom, but only if you don't fill that back up with a whole bunch of just mindless garbage that is not going to be beneficial for you or for anybody else in your life or in your business. And it is very tempting because I want you to think for yourself, how often have you doom scrolled? Like you're just scrolling through social media and then you realize, oh my gosh, like an hour has just gone by and I just went through this whole rabbit chase of nothing that did not add any meaning to my life. And it's because we often are equating time with money, and that we are caught in this rat race of the more time that I spend, the higher quality that it's going to be, when that's not necessarily the case. There is always a tipping point where beyond this amount, the value that you're providing is incrementally so small that it's not even worth it, right? So we cannot bypass the stage of working hard at something, because in order for us to gain the knowledge, the skills, the experience, we all have to start somewhere. But once you have, then you rely on knowledge. So that's stage 1, right? So that's knowledge versus input based, which is your time, your energy, your effort, the hard part. Number 2 is that instead of being attached to the time, you're going to look at the outcome, the result. What am I producing as a result of the time? And as you get better and better at it, you're going to spend less time, but the output is going to increase, which means that you can charge more for less time. Don't waste that time by filling it with a whole bunch of just utter nonsense. Because it's tempting. I understand. I have to keep stopping myself as well. This is where you have to plan in advance. When you save the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 3 hour, the 10 hours that right now you're spending on this, what are you going to do? So I'll give you an example. The number one issue that most business owners and doers have, right? So if you love to do stuff, when you go into becoming a manager, a leader, or step into the true CEO role of your business, if you don't pay attention to your own stuff, chances are you're going to be tempted to micromanage, because there's going to be a fear or a misguided belief that nobody can do it as good as you. And while that may be true, the fact of the matter is, if you really value time, then you're going to have the third level, which is systems, a system that enables the people that you hire to be able to meet the expectation and to have clarity around what you're trying to communicate. How do you want people to do things? How do you support them? How do you communicate with them? How do you empower them to make decisions so that you don't have to micromanage. Because I'm going to tell you that if you are going from delegating, right, doing to delegating to now micromanaging, simply because you can't trust that the people that you've hired are doing the job that they need to do, and that you're somehow equating the fact that in order for them to do the same task, they have to spend the same amount of time as you spent, that's not true, right? And so when you consider that the people that you hire are meant to be experts, but they may not be an expert at the time that you hire them, it depends on what your expectations are. And in order for you to be able to free up time, that person still needs to learn how to do the thing that they do well, but now specific for you, specific for how you want to operate. And that takes time too. So we have to give people some grace. We have to give them some compassion and kindness, but we also need to be very clear in our expectations. And oftentimes what I find is that the people who want to make the most money, work the least amount, simply have pie in the sky expectations that have not been solidified here on earth, simply because they haven't put in the amount of time that's required to take what they know and put it down on paper, such that they can clearly communicate and articulate what the expectations are. That's what systems are for. Make sense? Cool, Goku. That's why I don't want to work with anyone. Well, I think that in today's age, we don't necessarily need to work with anybody. But I will say in the world of business, it does make for lonely times, right? Like, humans are not made to be solitary. I'm an introvert. I spend most of the day by myself. I like it. But at the same time, that's all I did all day long, every day, forever and a day, science has proven that is not healthy for us, because we're not designed that way. We're designed to be in community. We're designed to be like with other people. It's necessary for our survival. Now, is it necessary for the base survival? Not necessarily, right? According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, community and connection is a little bit higher up, but they have, since 2020, right, with all of the isolation that the world has been forced to kind of position themselves with, scientists and doctors, medical professionals, experts have now discussed, proven, theorized, and suggested that the hierarchy of needs is actually not in the correct order, that connection and love actually is very, very essential for our feelings of survival, for safety, for security, right? And so for us, when you think about all of these pieces and thinking about how do you structure your business and how do you structure your life in such a way that you're not relying on more time? People are one way to do that, right? And so I don't want anybody on here, and I'm not singling you out, because I know this is also for my clients, where it's like, oh my gosh, I can do it better than they can. So why am I going to hire somebody? Why am I going to take the time to pay them when I can just do it? That's not necessarily a correct way to think, especially if you are struggling with time and wanting to make more. Now, that being said, I don't know anything about you, your business, and you can easily make it to 7 figures and even beyond, running a very, very lean operation with just yourself, maybe 2 other part-time staff members, like team members. They could be contractual, right? They don't have to even be like salaried at all. There are ways to do that now with different tools. For me, tools fit into the systems bucket, right? Now, level 1, level 2, level 3, that's not necessarily the order. It's really just thinking about a systems approach, right? So when we think about making more money, spending less time, oftentimes we think, I can't make more money because I don't have more time. And that's where we need to break apart. What is it that you think that making more money is connected to? And because we often do say time is money, that is the biggest one for most of us. That is the one that, especially if you come from an employee background, that's me, even though my parents were entrepreneurial, that regardless of what I was exposed to, as a kid growing up, the world at large likes to reinforce these beliefs. We hear it over and over again. We see it in the movies, right? We see it on social media. And so the idea that in order to have the laptop lifestyle means that I'm just sitting like traveling to Paris and like eating bonbons all day, that's also not realistic, right? Whatever it is that you want for your life, you need to be able to articulate that and then to be able to formulate a model for your business that helps to support that. And that's really what we're talking about in terms of breaking apart these paradigms and shifting these ideas, these constructs around, is it this or this? And so I would invite everybody, if you're on here and if you have any questions, you can feel free to add them below. Because the formal piece, I'm gonna do a quick recap. Making more money is not about, it's not about mental gymnastics. Because I think sometimes people feel like they have to just like do all of these weird flips and hurdles in order to get to the place where they can actually have that sustainability in their life. So if that's you, then I want you to go and watch the video that's all about sustainable success. If right now you're also feeling a little bit burnt out or like, I don't have any more of me to give, I want you to go and watch the videos here on this channel that have burnout in the title or the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule will also be helpful. So here we're talking about making more money while spending less time, right? Because those two are not connected together. We put them together, but they don't have to live like that. So level one, door number one, should you choose to accept it? Because most of us do need to start where we're working hard, where it takes time, where if we don't show up, we don't get paid, right? Now, if you have a business, you have the option of being able to structure your business in such a way that none of those things are true. And none of the things that I'm going to describe in terms of it's this or this need to be true. These are all considerations that I want you to think about as you look at how did I create my business. So level one, input based, which means hard work, hard effort, time, which we'll discuss again in level two, versus knowledge. Okay, so when you can get paid for what you know. So as an example, if you go to McDonald's, you're not paying them, they're not getting paid for what they know. They're getting paid because they're a warm body. They're a physical human self who can be there to monitor, to talk to customers, to clean up the messes, to take the payments, but doesn't require a lot of skill. Even though their training is excellent, but it doesn't require a lot of skill, which means that they can train anybody, okay? And it means that they don't get paid very much. When you start becoming even a manager inside of McDonald's, you now know more than the run-of-the-mill staff who's frontline, right? So as soon as you go into management, theoretically, not always, but theoretically, you should know more. Now you're getting paid for your knowledge, your skills, your experience, your expertise. And in your business, when clients come to you, that's really what they want. They want to know what you know, right? So how much do you know and how well do you know it? Depends. But that is also going to influence how much you get paid. If you don't believe that you know enough, if you don't believe that the quality of what you know is enough to help people, then it's going to be very, very difficult for you to charge any amount of money, regardless of how long it takes you to give people that help, that knowledge, okay? So that's level one. Level two is time-based versus outcome-based. So we want to unhook from time as much as possible. When you charge by the hour, when you are paid by the hour, because often for most of us, even if you're salaried, you're being paid to show up a certain amount of hours, a certain amount of days. You only get a certain amount of vacation days. You only get a certain amount of sick days, if at all, right? So all that being said, it's time. You have tenure after a certain amount of years on the job, right? You get maybe a pension after a certain amount that you've clocked in. So all of these are time bound. And so of course, we are naturally going to be connected to money equals time. That's why we keep saying it over and over again. So your time, the faster you can remove time from the equation, and while you're in a job, this is dang near impossible to do because somebody else controls your time. But the good news is that even if you are in a job, you control your other time. And now it's just a matter of what are you doing in order to maximize that time? Are you up-leveling your skills, right? Are you increasing your knowledge? Back when I was just starting out my career, I still love to learn, but I went back to school to pursue an MBA, and I paid out of pocket because I didn't want to wait for somebody to sponsor me, like a company to sponsor me, to feel like I was worthy enough to maybe possibly be in a job that would require it. I wanted to be able to set my own destiny. And I felt like because I hadn't gone to school for business, this was an area that I still felt a little bit like I need that information because I'm now dealing in business. I'm now dealing in finance. I'm now dealing with people and talking about different things than what I went to school for. Now, did I need it? No. I stopped after the first year because all of the theory that I had learned, I already had applied from a practical standpoint inside of the work that I was doing and by virtue of the exposure that I had because my parents were business owners, although they never formally taught me about economics and marketing and accounting, that by osmosis, right, I caught a lot of the stuff. And that's why, like when you have kids, a lot of the things that we try to teach our kids, they're catching what you do more than what you say. So outcome-based stuff then focuses on the result. What's the output? What's the transformation? What can I get as a result of what it is that you know, right? What does this give me? And for business owners, it's always very important to answer, what's in it for me? Me being the customer. If you give your customer what they want, and it is a high quality, high caliber result, regardless of whether it's a product or a service, why do we pay more for an Apple device? Even though feasibly, in some ways, it is not as good. In some ways, it is not as good, right? Why? Outcome-based. There's certain qualities, characteristics that we identify with as the buyer for the things that we pay for. They can charge a premium now, right? They charge a premium from the beginning. Now that's going deeper than what we have time for here, right? Because it's related to your marketing, it's positioning, your messaging, the whole brand, the whole ecosystem around the business. But for you as a business owner, the example that I gave was a client of mine went from charging hourly to immediately moving into packages. That meant that as her skill, her knowledge, which was level 1, right? That as she got better and better and better and better, that she wasn't getting penalized, that instead of getting paid more because she was charging by the hour before. So that meant that if it took her 15 minutes to do something versus an hour, she lost income. How is that fair, right? So for you, I want you to consider, how can I turn what I know into results for other people such that I could charge for it? And that's why, whether you're a business owner or whether you are currently an employee working for somebody else, there is a transformation that you can provide. There is a result or an outcome that you can provide where your money that you make is no longer tied to how much time that you spend sitting at a desk, how much time that you spend going into the doors of an establishment to sit down and park your butt and then wait for time to end, okay? The third level is systems. So when we start moving away from these different patterns of thinking and start looking at the world through the lens of systems, how can I systematize? Because the more that you can systemize and systematize, it's probably the same word, standardize your processes, look at your operations, look at your inefficiencies, increase your effectiveness. And this is not about mechanizing everything, although automations and using tools like AI certainly help. So I'll give you an example. When I first started my business, I think I've shared multiple times, but we'll repeat it again. I did not have a lot of time because I was not well. I literally was going through very invasive trigger point therapies where I would have, track marks down here from hundreds of needles being poked into my body. And because of this, I needed my time for me to heal. Now I was still supporting clients and I was still having 5 or more conversations a day. Now, lest you think, Susan, how bad could it have been? Listen, it was really, really bad. I don't need to go into all of that. But I share this because my frame of reference for the benchmark was much higher than maybe the average Jill or Joe. I was used to making, 40 calls a day, and that would be a slow day, okay? So me doing 5 conversations a day was very low key, even as an introvert. But you have to do you. What I know is that the volume that we produce, right? Like for me, having gone through 31, 32 days of continuous videos here on YouTube, that instantly gave me information that I could use that if I had only done 1 a week, it would take me almost a year to get the same amount of data. Condense that, right? So the systems that I used in my business that reduced the time that I needed to spend, which wasn't meaningful time, was I used a scheduling system, which I will tell you, lots of clients when they come to, they don't want to use it because they're like, well, but Susan, it reduces like the personal connection here. Like I want to be right there with somebody. It feels so far apart. And I say, that's not the way that I want to build a personal connection, is by saying, hey, can you meet on Tuesday at 3 p.m.? No, I'm busy that day. Can you do Friday at 3 p.m.? No, like I'd much rather spend that time finding out about you, your business, what's important to you, why you built it, what's going on, how I can help, right? That's much more meaningful dialogue than trying to coordinate our schedules. You're busy, I'm busy. I don't have the desire to do that. So my calendaring system allowed people to just book on my schedule at their own will, right? Based off of their own availability. And what it allowed me to do is, number 1, schedule. Number 2, get information. I pre-qualified people right from the get-go, which meant that I really only had conversations with people that I knew that I could help. Because if I couldn't help them, what was the point, right? Like they're asking me for help. And if I know in advance, based off of what you just shared, I don't think I can help you. I don't think I'm the appropriate person for you. Then I bless and release you and send you on your merry way. You find the person that is the person for you. And then it would send reminders so that I didn't have to chase after anybody. And that's why my show up rate was very, very high. And then after the calls, which was integrated with my video platform, which was Zoom, before everybody knew what Zoom was, right? And it gave them instructions on how to log in and do all of that. Then after the conversation, regardless of the outcome, it sent an automated thank you email asking for feedback. How did we do today? Did you get what you needed? Do you have any other feedback? It was all done automatically. I didn't have to think about it at all. And the best part of this was it only took me about 15 minutes to set up. And then every single week, as my schedule would change based off of doctor's appointments and how I felt, I would just go in and just update my availability. 15 minutes, done. But that one system allowed me to make hundreds of thousands of dollars by allowing people to book on my calendar based off of their desire to get my help. I didn't have to chase up after anybody. That's systems thinking. That's taking the knowledge and then applying it in a different way to be able to use tools like technology and support the actual desire that I have, which is to help more people. That's how we can use automation while still maintaining a personal approach without taking away anything from the interaction that we're having with our customers. In fact, it enhances it, because instead of me feeling resentful or burnt out that people aren't getting back to me or they're not booking on my calendar when I ask them to, when they ask me to, that I don't have to spend any time, I don't have to pay an assistant to do that, right? And then their time is better used for other more meaningful things that probably they're going to enjoy more. Make sense? Okay, so questions. Let me just see if you have any questions. Okay, so Cool Who is asking, how do you know when you're ready to hire someone? I run online video game store. I've made a very similar amount of money per year for about 5 years. So, I'm gonna do a video on this because I think this is a great topic. Cool Who. So how do you know? Let me just write it down, actually. We're gonna screenshot this and then I can type it. I will do this one tomorrow for you. Okay, so come back tomorrow, because I've also made the decision that more often than not, I am going to, if my schedule allows it, I am probably going to do my 365, because that's my challenge for this year, of creating content. That if I have something that I want to share, that more than likely it's going to be through a live video here on YouTube. And the reason for that is because it's way faster and easier for me. Now, you may be different. This might be like your worst case scenario, in which case don't do it. But for me, having to figure out graphics or even like putting captions on my reels, and like, I get tripped up, let me just say, okay? And I want it to feel light and fun and easy. And this, for now, still is light and fun and easy. And it gives me data, because that way I can see, what do I want to talk about? What do you like me to talk about? Is there a meeting of the minds in some respects? And then obviously, as I am doing other things in service of my clients, in service of my business, I'm still always going to be the example that shows you, like, here's how you can show up and still sell, and it's still okay, right? Like, you're a business owner, you need to sell. If you don't sell, if you don't make money, your business is going to go under. And there have been lots and lots of businesses that unfortunately have gone under because they have failed to understand the magnitude of what it means to be a business owner, and that your number one job is always going to be to sell. Always, 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 always. And that does not mean that you are selfish or spammy or any of those things, or greedy. It means that you are an ethical business owner who's doing what needs to be done in order for your business to survive. And if your business produces a good or a service that other people value, right? Online video game store, entertainment, peace of mind, joy, right? Just being able to calm themselves. Like, there's so many different benefits, even for something where you might feel like, is there really a lot of value? Yeah, of course there is. There's community in there as well, right? I say this because both my husband and my kiddos, they all play online video. Lots of my family members who play online videos. I personally have to limit, and I'm not very good at it, because it can jack up my nervous system, because it's like, right? And so I intentionally don't do activities that can upcharge my nervous system. So I will do that for you tomorrow. Okay, cool, go, cool. I'm 25 and never hired anyone before. I've hired hundreds of people. Did your parents go to college for business too? No, my mom actually went to college for art. She is an artist. I don't remember what my dad went to college for. It wasn't business though, not at all. My parents have done all kinds of stuff, as a lot of immigrants have had to do in order to make things work, right? In a new country, learning brand new language, in a very different time than today. So I never went to college myself for what I'm doing now. That's okay. You don't need to. Like, if you are resourceful, if you are enterprising, where there is a will, there is a way, right? And so while we all have our own unique talents, gifts, and abilities, that coupled with faith, that coupled with drive, determination, and not being afraid of hard work. Like, I just want to be very clear. This video is not about you don't have to work hard at all. Hard work is required to a point, and work absolutely is required, because the Bible says that faith without works is dead. So that tells us that even when we take enormous leaps of faith, even when we are doing things that are spirit-led or supernaturally inspired, and that we don't know what the outcome is, that just praying, just meditating, just being still is not the thing that's going to drive the mechanism forward. That yes, God is going to do what only God can do, but at the same time, he decides to partner with us because he gave us dominion over the earth. So we have a part to play. And that means that our part is we still have to take action. What kind of action? That's going to depend. And more often than not, we get stuck in this loop, in this pattern of thinking that it has to be hard, that it has to keep being hard. And I'm challenging that belief because I want us to understand that as you grow in your knowledge, your skills, your competence, that instead of it being hard, it's just work. And at some point, it stops even being work at all. It starts being just the thing that you are led to do. And it doesn't feel hard or not hard. You're just being led to do it, if that makes sense, right? That it's just like brushing your teeth. Is brushing your teeth hard? Well, it depends. If you're somebody who has loose teeth or a cavity or something else going on in your mouth, probably is. It probably is something that you're trying to avoid. It probably feels very hard and difficult. But for most people, it's going to be no big deal. So it's just a matter of the context that it's in and what's going on for you. And so oftentimes what ends up happening is that we create these stories and we catastrophize, right? And then we stop ourselves before we even get going. And I say this because I've had to work through this. Like, you're seeing in real time me still going through some of them, but I've mastered a lot of it, which is why I can talk about it and I can share. And hopefully my knowledge, my skills, my wisdom, my experiences will help somebody else. And this is directly what I also help clients with, right? Because in order for them to get the type of results that they want, it's not about just selling or just marketing or just the finances. It's also about how you are as you demonstrate those kinds of skills and abilities and take those actions inside of your life and inside of your business. Okay? Cool. The girls used to call me broke when I had an Android. I love it. Okay, amazing. So if you do have any other questions, comments that I can answer for you or help you with, be sure to add them below. What else? This one. So like, subscribe, do all the stuff if you feel led to, because this channel, as a reminder, in case you joined late, is all about business and entrepreneurship. We speak unapologetically about money, sales, faith, and family, because you're a real human living a real human existence, and chances are you're not one-sided. Right? Like, your business is not being created in a silo. You have things going on with your life, with your family, with your faith, with your own health and the relationships thereof. And so for me, it's very important that we start to address these things from a holistic perspective and not just make money. That's all well and good. You want that, you can go and find somebody else that's all they're talking about. And it's like hustle to the max and grind to the max. I think there's a time and a place for that, because I just told you need to still work. But I think that there's better ways to live our lives and to build our businesses. And that comes from a place of purpose. It comes from a place of walking in our destiny. It comes from a place of fulfillment. And it also means that we get to make a lot of money while we do it, because more money in the hands of good-hearted people makes more good in the world. And that's part of my deeper mission. So with that, thanks for being here. If you need help specifically around growing your wealth, my ebook might help you. If you have any questions on it though, send me a message, send me a comment, because I'll be the first to tell you, and I think I've done it on one of these videos, like, don't buy it. I'll be the first to tell you not to buy it if it's not gonna help you, because what's the point? I want you to get the help that you need, and that's my mission. So if that's going to be something that helps you, then feel free to go and grab that. The link is in the description of this and in the bio for my channel. So we will be back tomorrow with Cool Goku's amazing suggestion question, which is, how do you know when you're ready to hire someone? How do you know when you're ready to hire somebody? So I'm gonna give you some criteria that you can use to evaluate your decision, and more importantly, probably who you should be hiring first. And the answer might surprise you. So that's me. I will be back tomorrow. We will see you again. Bye-bye.